Danny Cooper heard the thunder first. Then came the crash that shook his bedroom window and rattled the old farmhouse down to its foundations. The 10-year-old boy sat up in bed, his heart pounding as lightning split the sky over the Oregon forest behind their property. His mother, Kate, burst through his door, her brown hair messy from sleep, her eyes wide with concern. "Stay inside," she ordered. Checking that his window was latched tight against the storm, Danny nodded. But his curiosity burned brighter than his fear. Something had fallen out there in the woods, something big. The storm raged through the night, and Danny barely slept, thinking about what could have made such a terrible sound. Morning came gray and wet, with mist hanging low over the trees like a blanket. Kate left early for her veterinary clinic in town, making Danny promise 3 times that he would not go into the forest alone. He promised, and he meant it when he said the words. But as soon as her truck disappeared down the gravel road, his feet carried him toward the treehouse he had spent all summer building. The massive oak tree stood at the edge of their property, its branches reaching toward the forest like welcoming arms. Danny had used every bit of wood, rope, and nail he could find to construct his treehouse, a place where he could read his books about dragons and space explorers and dream about adventures today. Adventure had come looking for him. He climbed up to his treehouse, grabbed the binoculars his father had given him before the divorce, and scanned. The forest smoke rose from somewhere deep in the trees, thin and silver instead of the black smoke from normal fires. Danny's hands shook as he adjusted the focus, trying to see what lay beyond the dense undergrowth. He knew he should call his mom, knew he should wait for adults to handle whatever had happened. But something pulled at him, a feeling he could not name. He climbed down and walked to the edge of the forest, then kept walking. The trees grew thick here, old growth that his mother said had stood for hundreds of years. Danny followed the path of broken branches and scorched earth, his sneakers squelching in the mud. The smell hit him first, sharp and metallic, like the time he had touched his tongue to a battery on a dare. Then he saw it, and his breath caught in his throat. The creature lay in a crater of torn earth and splintered trees, and it looked exactly like the dragons from his storybooks. Except it was clearly something that did not belong on Earth. It was roughly the size of his mother's car, with scales that shimmered and changed colors, even though it was not moving. Blue to purple to silver to green. Its wings were torn, stretched between bone-like frames, with silver liquid dripping from the ragged edges. One of its legs bent at an angle that made Danny's stomach twist. Creature's head turned slowly toward him, and Danny found himself staring into eyes that held more intelligence and pain than he had ever seen in any animal. Those eyes were golden with flecks of silver, and they watched him with what Danny recognized as fear. The creature tried to move, tried to rise, but collapsed with a sound that was part growl and part whimper. Silver blood pooled beneath its body, soaking into the Oregon soil. Danny should have run. Every survival instinct his mother had taught him screamed at him to get away from the dangerous wounded animal. Instead, he took a step closer. "Hey," he said softly, the way he had learned to speak to frightened animals at his mother's clinic. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's eyes followed him, wary but not aggressive. Its breathing came in short, pained gasps, and Danny could see burns across its crystalline scales, wounds that looked like they had been made by weapons, not by crashing through trees. This creature had been in a fight before it fell from the sky. Danny made a decision that would change 2 worlds. He turned and ran back to the farmhouse, his mind racing. His mother would know what to do. She fixed injured animals all the time. This was just a bigger animal, right? He grabbed his phone and called Kate's clinic, his words tumbling over each other as he tried to explain. "Mom, there's something in the woods. It's hurt really bad. It looks like a dragon, but it's real." "Danny, slow down," Kate said, her professional calm sliding over her fear. "What did you see?" "It's big, and it has scales and wings, and it's bleeding this silver stuff." "And Mom, I think it came from space. The line went quiet for a long moment. I'm coming home, Kate said finally. Don't go near it, do you understand me? Stay in the house. But Danny was already filling a bucket with water, grabbing the old blankets from the garage. Loading everything into his wagon, he could not leave the creature alone and suffering. Just could not when he returned to the crater. The creature had not moved except to turn its head. Watching his approach with those intelligent, fearful eyes, Danny set down the bucket of water within reach of the creature's long neck. I brought you water, he said, and blankets. In case you're cold. The creature stared at the bucket, then at Danny, as if trying to understand why this small being was helping instead of running or attacking. Slowly, painfully, it lowered its head and drank. The water disappearing in desperate gulps, Danny spread the blankets over the parts of the creature that looked coldest. Where the scales had lost their shimmer, his hand shook as he touched the creature for the first time, expecting it to snap at him, but it only watched with those haunted golden eyes. My mom's coming, Danny whispered, tucking a blanket around the creature's torn wing. She fixes animals, she know what to do. The creature made a sound low and rumbling, and Danny realized it was trying to speak. No words came out that he could understand. Just clicks and melodic tones that sounded almost like singing, but the meaning was clear enough in those eyes. Thank you. Danny sat down in the mud beside the creature, this impossible being from somewhere beyond the stars, and waited for his mother to arrive. He told the creature about his treehouse, about the books he read, about how he had always wanted to meet a real dragon. The creature listened, its breathing gradually becoming less labored, its eyes never leaving Danny's face when Kate's truck roared up the dirt path and his mother came running through the trees with her emergency veterinary kit. Danny saw her stop dead at the sight before her son sat in the mud next to an alien creature, talking softly while the being listened as if Danny's voice itself was medicine. Danny. Kate's voice shook. Mom, he needs help, Danny said simply. He's hurt really bad. Kate looked at her son, then at the creature, then at the impossible choice before her. She was a healer. It was what she had always been. The creature's eyes met hers, and she saw the same thing Danny had seen, not a monster, not a threat, just someone who was broken and needed help. Kate knelt down beside her son and opened her medical kit. Okay, she said, her hands already moving to assess the wounds. Let's see what we can do. The creature's eyes closed in what looked like relief, and Danny smiled. He had found a dragon, and he was going to help it heal. Neither of them knew that this moment, a boy, his mother, and a wounded warrior from the stars would be the first step toward changing everything. 2 weeks had passed since the night the creature fell from the sky, and Danny's life had become something from his wildest dreams and his mother's worst nightmares. The creature, whom they now knew was called Verith, was healing slowly under Kate's careful treatment. She had stitched wounds, set broken bones as best she could, and created medications based on analysis of his silver blood that she ran through equipment borrowed from the university lab without explaining exactly why she needed it. Danny had practically moved into his treehouse during those 2 weeks. He brought his sleeping bag, his books, his drawings, and spent every moment he could near Verith's crater. His mother had helped them create a shelter over the wounded alien, using tarps and fallen branches to hide him from any passing helicopters or curious neighbors. Verith grew stronger each day, and as his body healed, something else began to happen. They started to communicate. It began when Danny found a small device in the debris near where Verith had crashed. The device was silver and smooth, about the size of a smartphone, with symbols that glowed when Danny touched it. Verith had made an urgent sound when he saw it. Reaching for it with his good foreleg, Danny brought it to him, and Verith had pressed it against his chest, then pointed at Danny. The boy understood. It was some kind of translator. Over the next few days, The device learned English by listening to Danny talk. The boy told Verith everything about his favorite books, about his parents' divorce, about how he wanted to be a pilot someday and fly. Among the stars, he showed Verith his drawings, mostly pictures of dragons and spaceships, and watched as the alien warriors studied each one with careful attention. When the translator finally worked well enough for real conversation, the first thing Verith said was, "Why did you help me?" Danny had been sitting in his treehouse, eating a sandwich while Verith rested below. The question came through the translator in a voice that sounded like wind chimes and distant thunder. "Because you were hurt," Danny answered, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I could have killed you." Verith said, "I still could. My people are warriors, trained from birth to fight and conquer. But you didn't kill me," Danny pointed out, climbing down from his treehouse to sit near Verith's head. "You drank the water I brought you. You let my mom help you." Verith was quiet for a long time, his golden eyes studying the small human who had shown him mercy. "My people do not have a word for what you did," he said finally. "We have words for strategy, for temporary alliance, for useful exchange, but not for helping someone simply because they suffer. That's sad." Danny said honestly. Kate joined them most evenings after work, bringing food for Danny and checking Verith's healing wounds. She had gotten past her initial terror and now treated the alien warrior with the same calm professionalism she gave to all her patients. One evening, as the sun set orange and pink over the Oregon forest, Kate asked the question that had been weighing on her mind. "Verith, why were you in a battle? Who hurt you?" The alien warrior shifted his position carefully, his healing wing folding against his side. "My fleet was attacking a colony world, a species that refused to submit to the Draken Empire," he said through the translator. "They fought back harder than we expected. Their weapons damaged my ship, and I crashed here while trying to escape." "You were invading someone's home?" Danny asked, his voice Verith's head lowered, a gesture that looked remarkably like shame. "Yes," he admitted. "It is what my people do. We find worlds with resources or strategic value, and we take them. We have ruled our section of space for thousands of years through strength and fear." "That's terrible," Danny said, his young face troubled. "Why would you do that?" "Because it is what we have always done," Verith answered. "Because we are taught that compassion is weakness, that only power matters, that any species which cannot defend itself deserves to be conquered." He paused, his eyes finding Danny's. "But then I crashed here, wounded and helpless, and a small human child brought me water and blankets. Your mother risked her life to heal me, even though she did not know if I was dangerous. You have shown me something my people have forgotten existed." "What's that?" Kate asked softly. "Kindness without expectation of return," Verith said. "Mercy given freely to someone who could never repay it. Your species is weak by Draken standards. You have no scales, no claws, no natural weapons, and yet you possess a strength my people have never understood." Danny smiled at that, pleased by the idea that humans had a kind of strength that mighty space warriors did not. But Kate's face had gone pale. "Verith," she said carefully, "will more of your people come looking for you?" The alien warrior's scales rippled with colors that Danny had learned meant distress blues and grays swirling across his body. "Yes," he said quietly. "My distress beacon was damaged in the crash, but I repaired it 3 days ago. I had to, or they would assume I was dead and mark this sector as hostile. When will they arrive?" Kate's voice was steady, but Danny could hear the fear underneath. "Soon," Verith said. "Perhaps 3 days, perhaps 4, and when they come, they will assess your world as they assess all worlds they discover." The implications hung in the air like a storm. Cloud Danny looked between his mother and his friend, understanding dawning on his young face. "They're going to want to take over Earth, aren't they?" he asked, Your world is weak by galactic standards, Vareth said gently. You have only just begun to explore your own solar system. You have no unified defense. No weapons that could threaten the Draken fleet. My people will see Earth as they have seen dozens of other primitive worlds. A resource to be exploited or a potential future threat to be eliminated. But we helped you, Danny protested. Doesn't that matter? Not to the Draken Empire, Vareth said, and his voice carried a weight of sorrow that the translator could barely convey. They will see your kindness as proof of weakness. They will look at this small farm, and a human child who builds tree houses and dreams of adventure, and they will see nothing worth preserving. Kate stood up. Pacing in the small clearing, her mind raced through options, each one worse than the last. They could run, but where would they go? They could call the authorities, but who would believe them until it was too late? They could try to hide Vareth, but his people would search until they found him. There is one possibility, Vareth said hesitantly. A tradition so old that most Draken believe it is only legend. It is called the Witness of Change. What is it? Kate asked, turning to face him. In ancient times, before the Draken became conquerors, we were explorers and scholars, Vareth explained. The Witness of Change was invoked when a Draken experienced something that fundamentally altered their understanding of the universe. It required the fleet to listen, to see what changed the warrior's perspective. Has anyone used it recently? Kate asked. Not in over 3,000 years, Vareth admitted. And the last warrior who invoked it was executed for weakness. When he could not convince the council that his change was valid, Danny climbed down from his treehouse and walked over to Vareth, placing his small hand on the alien's scaled foreleg. We have to try, the boy said with the absolute certainty of childhood. You're my friend. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. And you're not going to let anyone hurt us. That's what friends do. Vareth looked down at the child who had saved his life. This small human who believed that friendship could stand against a warrior empire. Something shifted in the alien's chest. An emotion he had no name for in his own language. I will invoke the Witness of Change, he decided. I will tell my people what I have learned here. I will show them that there is strength in mercy, that there is power in compassion. And if they don't listen, Kate asked, then I will stand between them and this world. Vareth said simply, I cannot defeat a Draken fleet alone, but I will not allow them to harm the beings who showed me what it means to be more than a warrior. Danny hugged Vareth's leg, his small arms barely reaching around the scaled limb. We'll figure it out together, he said confidently. You'll see when they meet you guys. They'll understand. Kate wished she had her son's faith, but she was a mother, and mothers knew how to be afraid for their children. She also knew something else. She was a Cooper, and Coopers did not give up without a fight. We have 3 days, she said, her voice taking on the firm tone that meant she had made a decision. Let's use them well. The Draken ships appeared in Earth's orbit exactly when Vareth predicted they would 3 days after he activated his beacon. At dawn on a Tuesday morning, Danny was in his treehouse when the sky lit up with colors that should not exist in nature. His mother stood beside Vareth in the clearing below, both of them watching as 6 massive vessels descended through the clouds, their hulls reflecting light in impossible patterns. The ships were beautiful and terrifying all at once, shaped like crescents with weapons that bristled along their edges. Like teeth, they did not hide their arrival. Stealth was for those who feared discovery, and the Draken feared nothing within minutes. Every government on Earth knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Within an hour, military jets screamed overhead, only to be casually swatted aside by the Draken ship's defensive fields. The vessels did not attack, did not destroy. They simply made it clear that Earth's weapons were toys compared to their technology. One ship broke away from the formation and descended toward the Oregon forest. Guided by Vareth's beacon, it landed in the field beside the Cooper farm with a sound like thunder. crushing the grass beneath anti-gravity fields that made the air shimmer and twist. The ship's side opened, and 6 Draken warriors emerged, each one larger and more imposing than Varathi, moved with deadly grace. Their scales gleaming in colors that spoke of aggression and dominance, reds and golds and deep purples. The largest one, a female with scales that shifted between crimson and black, stood at the front. Her golden eyes swept the farm, the treehouse, the small humans standing beside their wounded comrade. And Danny saw something in those eyes that made his heart sink. This was War Commander Zun. Vareth had told them. His superior officer and one of the most decorated warriors in the Draken fleet, she had led the campaign that conquered 12 worlds. And she did not believe in Mercivrith stepped forward. His posture formal, despite his still healing injuries. He spoke in the Draken language, a series of clicks and melodic tones that the translator device in Danny's pocket could not quite capture. But Danny did not need translation to understand the tension in the air. Sen responded. Her voice sharp as broken glass, the other 5 warriors spread out, surrounding the small group. Their weapons visible, but not yet aimed. Kate moved closer to Danny. Her hand finding his shoulder. Vrith spoke again. Longer this time, and Danny heard the word that Vareth had taught him, the phrase that meant witness of change in the ancient Draken. Tungzen's reaction was immediate and dismissive. She made a sound that could only be laughter, harsh and mocking. The other warriors joined in, their scales rippling with colors that Vareth had said meant contempt. One of them, a male with scales like polished bronze, said something that made the others laugh harder. Vareth's scales darkened to deep blue, the color of shame or anger. But he stood his ground. He gestured to Danny, to Kate, to the treehouse, and began speaking in English so the humans could understand what he was telling his commander. These beings found me broken and dying, he said. This child brought me water when I was helpless. His mother healed my wounds when she could have let me die. They asked nothing in return, expected no reward, sought no advantage. They are weak, Zun responded in heavily accented English, her translator now active. They showed weakness, and you accepted it. You have become contaminated by their softness. They showed strength, Vareth countered. Strength to choose compassion over fear, strength to help someone who could offer them nothing. Interesting, Zun said, walking toward Kate and Danny with slow, predatory steps. Let us test this strength. She stopped in front of Danny, looming over the 10-year-old boy who barely came up to her chest. Small human, she said, her voice like winter wind. Do you understand what we are? You're Varath's people, Danny said, his voice shaking but steady. You're warriors from space. We are conquerors, Zien corrected. We have destroyed civilizations that had technology your species can only dream of. We have turned entire worlds to ash when they displeased us, and you, small human, you showed mercy to one of us. Why? Danny looked up at her, at the terrifying alien warrior who held his world's fate in her clawed hands. He thought about all the complicated answers he could give. All the things adults might say about diplomacy or making friends or preventing war. Instead, he said the truth because he was hurt. And hurting people need help. That's what my mom taught me. Zien stared at him, her golden eyes unreadable. Your mother taught you to help your enemies? She taught me that someone who's hurt isn't your enemy anymore, Danny said. They're just someone who needs help, one of the other warriors. A younger male with scales that shimmered green and silver made a sound of confusion and silenced him with a look. You realize what you have done? She asked, turning to Kate. By helping our warrior, by healing him, you have proven that your species is defenseless. You invite predators into your home and give them water. I invite injured beings into my clinic and give them treatment, Kate said firmly. That's what doctors do. That's what healers do. We don't ask if someone deserves help. We just help. And what do you expect in return? Zan demanded. What payment do you seek for this aid? Nothing, Kate said simply. We expect nothing except that maybe, when you leave, you'll remember that humans helped one of your people, and maybe you'll choose not to hurt us. Diane laughed again. But this time, it sounded less certain. You bargain with hope? She asked. You stake your entire world's survival on the possibility of mercy from a species that has shown none for 3,000 years? Yes, Kate said, meeting the warrior's eyes without flinching. Because what's the alternative? We can't fight you, we can't stop you if you decide to destroy us all. We can do is show you who we are, and hope it matters. Hope, John repeated, as if tasting a foreign word. Your species survives on hope. Our species survives on a lot of things, Danny spoke up. Surprising everyone, we survive on helping each other on. Being kind even when it's scary on. Building things instead of breaking them. He pointed at his treehouse. I built that myself. It took me all summer. I built it so I could have a place to read and dream and feel safe. And when Vareth needed somewhere to rest, I shared it with him. That's what humans do. We build places of safety and we share them. Something flickered in Jen's eyes. She looked at the treehouse. At this simple structure made of wood and rope and a child's determination. You offer me this place of safety? She asked, her tone shifting to something Danny could not quite identify. You offer this to a warrior who could destroy it with one sweep of her tail. Yes, Danny said, his heart pounding but his voice clear. Because maybe if you rest in my treehouse, if you see what I see from up there, you'll understand why we're worth saving. Zen looked at Vareth, who had remained silent during this exchange. You believe this? She asked in their own language. You believe in their way? I have lived their way for 2 weeks, Vareth responded, also in Draken. I have seen strength in places we never thought to look. I have learned that there are forms of power we have never named. Zium was quiet for a long moment, her scales shifting through colors that spoke of internal conflict. Finally, she spoke in English again. Very well, small human, she said to Danny. Show me this treehouse. Show me what you see from your place of dreams. I will grant you this much before I make my decision about your world. Danny's face lit up with hope and terror combined. He looked at his mother, who nodded slowly, then at Vareth, who made a sound that the boy had learned meant encouragement. Okay, Danny said. Follow me. As the 10-year-old boy led a war commander toward his summer project, Kate sent a silent prayer to every god she could think of humanity's. First contact had come down to a child's treehouse and a mother's desperate gamble behind them. The other Draken warriors watched in confusion and disbelief. One of them, the young warrior named Kreth, spoke quietly to his companion. What is happening here? He asked. I do not know, his companion answered. But I have never seen Commander Zahn accept an invitation from anyone, let alone from prey. Are we truly still hunting? Kreth wondered, watching the small human child lead their commander toward the tree. No one had an answer for that. The treehouse that Danny had built over one summer was not designed to hold a Draken war commander. But Zan made it work. She could not fit entirely inside. So she positioned herself on the strongest branch, her tail wrapped around the trunk for balance, her head level with the wooden platform where Danny stood. The boy's hand shook as he showed her his books, his drawings, his collection of smooth river stones. The other 5 Draken warriors remained on the ground with Kate and Vareth, watching this impossible scene unfold from up here. You can see the whole farm, Danny said, pointing across the fields. That's where Mom treats sick animals. That's the chicken coop I helped build last year. And over there, past the trees, there's a stream where I catch frogs sometimes. Jen's golden eyes followed where he pointed, seeing a small human settlement built for life. Not war. Why do you build these things? She asked. Your structures are fragile. Your defense is non-existent. Any predator could destroy what you have made. We build them because they make life better, Danny explained. Mom's clinic helps animals feel better. The chicken coop gives us eggs. The stream is just beautiful and fun. Fun, Zan repeated. As if the word was foreign. You don't have fun? Danny asked, surprised. Draken warriors train, Zan said. We perfect our skills, strengthen our bodies. Study tactics and strategy. Our purpose is victory. But what do you do when you're not fighting? Danny Pressidson was quiet, her scales shifting to colors that Vareth had taught Danny meant confusion. We prepare for the next fight, she said finally. That sounds really lonely. Danny said, with the brutal honesty of children. Something in Jen's expression changed, not softening exactly, but opening somehow below them. Kate had begun doing something that seemed insane, but felt right. She was making tea. She had invited the Draken warriors to sit, had brought out chairs from the house, and was now heating water over a portable camping stove. The warriors looked at each other in confusion, but slowly, hesitantly, they saw Krith, the youngest warrior. Watched Kate with open curiosity. What are you doing? He asked through his translator. Making tea, Kate said calmly, as if she made tea for alien warriors every day. It's hot water with herbs. Humans drink it to relax, to socialize, to be comfortable. Comfortable, Krith repeated. Testing the word. Yes, Kate said. Comfortable means feeling safe and at ease. It means not having to fight or defend, or prove anything, just existing peacefully for a moment. She poured tea into cups, mismatched mugs from her kitchen, and offered them to the warriors. They sniffed the liquid suspiciously. Their translators analyzing the chemical composition. It will not harm your biology, Kate assured them. I've been researching Draken physiology since I started treating. This blend should be safe for you. Why would you research our biology? Asked one of the older warriors, a female with scales like midnight blue. So I can help Vareth without accidentally poisoning him, Kate said simply. And now so I can offer you tea without worrying it will make you sick. The warriors looked at each other, then at Vareth, who nodded encouragingly, slowly, carefully. Kreth lifted the mug to his mouth and drank. His eyes widened. This is pleasant, he said, sounding surprised, warm and soothing. The others tried their tea, and Danny watched from his treehouse as the fierce alien warriors experienced something they had never known. Hospitality offered freely, comfort given without strings attached in the treehouse. Zan was looking at Danny's drawings. One showed a dragon clearly inspired by Vareth breathing not fire but flowers. Another showed spaceships and Earth's moon together peacefully. A third showed a draken and a human child holding hands. You dream of friendship between our species, Zan observed. Why not? Danny asked. Vareth, my friend, why can't more Draken and humans be friends? Because friendship requires trust, Zian said. And trust requires vulnerability. Warriors cannot afford vulnerability. Vareth was vulnerable, Danny pointed out. He was hurt and alone, and trusting us saved his life. And if you had betrayed that trust? Zan asked. If you had called your authorities, had him captured, studied him like a specimen. But we didn't, Danny said. And we're not going to. That's what trust means. Choosing to believe someone will do the right thing. Zan studied the child with an intensity that would have terrified most adults. You have no fear of me, she said finally. Why? Danny thought about that honestly. I am scared, he admitted. I'm really scared, but I'm more scared of not trying. If I don't try to show you that humans are good, then you might destroy my world, and I can't let that happen without at least trying. So you risk yourself to protect your species, June said. That is warrior thinking. No, Danny said firmly. It's people thinking. It's what anyone would do for their family, their friends, their home. You don't have to be a warrior to protect what you love. Below, Kate's impromptu tea gathering had evolved into something stranger. The Draken warriors were asking, Questions hesitant at first. Then more freely Krith wanted to know about family structures, about how human children were raised. Another warrior asked about art. Pointing to the decorations on Kate's farmhouse of Arth was translating, explaining human concepts that had no Draken equivalent. We do not raise our young, Krith said quietly. They are taken at birth to training facilities. We see our parents perhaps twice before reaching maturity. That's horrible, Kate said before she could stop herself. Kreth's scales flickered with colors that looked like sadness. It is our way, he said. It makes us strong. Does it? Kate asked gently, or does it just make you lonely? The question hung in the air like smoke. None of the warriors answered. But Kate saw something in their eyes, recognition, perhaps, or pain in the treehouse. Danny was telling Zahn about his parents' divorce. It hurt a lot when Dad left, he said. But Mom says that sometimes loving someone means letting them go. She says that's another kind of strength. Your species has many definitions of strength, Zahn observed, because there are many ways to be strong, Danny said. Fighting is one way, but so is healing, so is forgiving, so is choosing to trust even when you're scared. The moment was interrupted by the sound of helicopters approaching. Kate stood up quickly. Her eyes scanning the sky, multiple military helicopters appeared over the tree line, followed by trucks racing up the dirt road toward the farm. The Draken warriors immediately shifted into defensive postures, their bodies tense, their scales flashing warning colors. They are coming to attack? Kreth asked. No, Kate said quickly. They're coming to investigate, to protect. This is first contact for them too. Within minutes, soldiers surrounded the farm. Their weapons trained on the Draken ship's officers shouted through megaphones, demanding that Kate and Danny step away from the aliens. Kate refused. These are guests on my property, she called back. We are in the middle of negotiations, ma'am. Those are hostile alien forces, a colonel shouted. We need you to evacuate immediately. They're not hostile, Kate insisted. They're drinking tea. The absurdity of the statement seemed to confuse the military commander in the treehouse. Zahn had moved to a position where she could see the soldiers, her body coiled to strike if needed. Your defenders have arrived, she said to Danny. Will they attack us? I don't know, Danny admitted. But they're here to protect us. That's their job. By attacking those you have named guests, Zian noted. By threatening those you are negotiating with. They don't understand yet, Danny said desperately. Please, don't hurt them. Give us time to explain. More vehicles arrived, news vans, government cars, and a crowd of neighbors who Kate had called earlier. Among them was Danny's teacher, the local pastor, and several families from their small community. They formed a line between the soldiers and the Draken warriors. These are our neighbors, one woman shouted. Kate and Danny Cooper are good people, if they say these aliens are peaceful. We believe them. The standoff was tense and confused. With neither side sure what to do then, Varys did something that surprised everyone. He began to glow. His scales lit up with bioluminescence, creating patterns in the air, symbols and shapes that pulsed with meaning. It was a Draken communication display. Meant to broadcast to his fleet, the message was being sent directly to the Draken command ship in orbit within moments. A response came not through radio or technology, but through another ship descending from the sky. This vessel was different from the others, older, decorated with symbols that spoke of authority and age. From it emerged a single Draken, even larger than Zahn, her scales the color of ancient silver. That is Elder Sareth, Zahn said quietly, her voice holding something Danny had never heard from her before, genuine respect, perhaps even fear. Who is she? Danny whispered. She's the keeper of memory, Zahn answered. The living historian of our people. She remembers what we were before we became conquerors. The elder approached slowly, her eyes taking in the scene, the treehouse, the teacups, the humans standing protectively near Draken warriors. The soldiers, uncertain whether to shoot or salute her gaze, finally settled on Zan. Sitting in a tree beside a human child. "War Commander," the elder said, her voice carrying across the clearing without effort. "Explain this." Elder Sareth moved through the chaos, like water flowing around stone soldiers, stepped aside without knowing why. News cameras focused on her ancient presence, and even the wind seemed to quiet in respect. She walked to the base of the oak tree and looked up at Danny's treehouse. At War Commander Zen perched beside a human child. At the books and drawings scattered on the wooden platform. "Come down. Both of you," she commanded. Danny climbed down quickly. His legs shaking and descended with more grace but equal uncertainty. The boy stood between Verith and his mother, holding Kate's hand tightly. The elder's silver scales seemed to hold entire galaxies in their depths, swirling with colors that Danny had never seen before. "I am old," Sareth began, speaking in English so all could understand. "Old enough to remember when the dragon were different, when we explored instead of conquered, when we learned instead of destroyed." She turned to Verith. "You invoked the witness of change," she said. "An ancient right that has not been called upon in 3,000 years. You risk everything to tell us that you have learned something here. So me, warrior, what have you learned?" Verith stepped forward, his scales showing colors of determination and hope. "I learned that strength comes in forms we have never recognized," he said. "I was broken, helpless, dying. I expected death or capture instead. I found a child who brought me water and a healer who mended my wounds." He gestured to Danny. "This small human had every reason to fear me, to leave me to die, to call his authorities and have me taken. Instead, he sat with me. He talked to me. He shared his dreams and his world. He showed me that compassion is not weakness, but a different kind of courage." "Courage to do what?" Sareth asked. "Courage to choose trust over suspicion," Verith answered. "Courage to offer help knowing it might not be returned. Courage to believe that even a warrior trained to kill could become something more." Zuin spoke up, surprising everyone. "Elder, I have commanded fleets," she said. "I have conquered 12 worlds. I have seen species beg for mercy and others fight to their last breath, but I have never seen what I witnessed here today." She pointed at the treehouse. "A child invited me into his place of dreams, not to bargain, not to bribe, but simply to share his mother-made tea for warriors who could destroy her home with the thought humans stood between us and their own soldiers, choosing to protect beings they just met over their own kind's weapons. And this impresses you?" Sareth asked, her tone unreadable. "It confuses me," Zain admitted. "Everything I have been taught says this species should be easy to conquer. They are physically weak, technologically primitive, divided among themselves, and yet they possess something that makes them stronger than species with far greater power. What is that?" The elder pressed. "Hope," Joan said softly. "They hope that kindness will matter. They hope that showing us their best selves will inspire us to be better. They stake their entire world's survival on the belief that we are capable of choosing mercy." Sareth turned to Kate, human healer. She said, "Do you understand what hangs in the balance? I could order this world's destruction with a single command. Your species would not survive the weak. Why do you risk this?" Kate squeezed Danny's hand and stepped forward. "Because the alternative is to live in fear," she said. "We could hide, we could lie, we could try to seem stronger than we are, but that would just delay the inevitable instead. We choose to show you who we really are, a species that helps the wounded, that shares what we have, that builds places of safety and invites others to rest in them, even if that invitation is refused." Sareth asked even then. Kate said firmly, "Because living with hope is better than living with fear. And showing compassion is better than showing cruelty even. If it costs us everything." The elder was quiet. For a long moment the soldiers held their breath. The Draken warriors watched their ancient leader news cameras broadcast this moment to a terrified planet Danny. Unable to bear the silence, spoke up. "Elder Sareth," he said, his young voice clear in the stillness. "Do you have children?" The question was so unexpected that Sareth actually looked startled. "I did. Once," she said. "Long ago, before we changed our ways, I had a daughter who loved to build things. To create rather than destroy. What happened to her?" Danny asked. "She grew up in the new way," Sarah said, sadness coloring her words. "She became a warrior. Learned to see compassion as weakness. She died in battle 300 years ago, conquering a world that never threatened us." "I'm sorry," Danny said. And he meant it. Sareth looked at him, really looked at him, and something in her ancient eyes shifted. "You are sorry for my loss," she said. "Even though my people might destroy yours, even though you have every reason to hate us, you offer sympathy for a stranger's pain. Everyone deserves sympathy when they lose someone they love." Danny said simply. The elder closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with tears, silver tears that rolled down her scaled face and fell to the earth like liquid starlight. "I remember," she whispered. "I remember what we were before fear made us cruel, before strength became our only virtue, before we forgot that power means nothing without wisdom." She looked at Varath, at Zin, at the warriors who had come to conquer and found themselves drinking tea instead. "I am the keeper of memory," she said, "and I remember the words carved in our most ancient temple. Words we stopped teaching our children millennia ago. True strength is choosing compassion when you have the power to choose cruelty." Sareth turned to face the humans, the soldiers, the news cameras broadcasting to the world. "I declare this world protected under the ancient covenant," she announced. "Earth will not be conquered. Its people will not be harmed. Instead, it will become a teaching ground." "Teaching what?" asked the human military commander, finally finding his voice. "Teaching what we have forgotten," Sarah said. "Young Draken warriors will come here to live with human families, to learn about compassion, about building instead of destroying, about the strength it takes to choose peace over war." She walked to Danny and knelt before him, bringing her massive head level with his small human. She said, "You have done what entire civilizations with advanced weapons could not. You have changed the heart of a warrior empire. Your treehouse will stand as the first embassy between our species." Danny's eyes went wide. "My treehouse is going to be an embassy?" "If you permit it," Sarah said. "We will need someone to teach incoming Draken students, someone who understands both kindness and courage. I can think of no better teacher than the child who showed mercy to a broken warrior." "I'm only 10, Danny said. "And yet you have accomplished what diplomats twice your age could not." Sareth replied, "Age is not wisdom, compassion is wisdom." Over the next hour, details were negotiated. Human governments sent representatives. Confused but hopeful, the Draken fleet remained in orbit. No longer a threat, but a promise of cooperation. Kate's farm became the center of galactic attention. Vareth chose to remain as the first Draken ambassador, officially becoming Danny's friend and Earth's protectors, and her warriors volunteered to be the first teachers, to learn from humans so they could teach other Draken what they had discovered. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The neighbors cheered. Danny's teacher cried with relief as the sun set over the Oregon farm, painting the sky in colors that reminded Danny of Varath's scales. The boy climbed back up to his treehouse. Varath followed, settling on the branch below as he had done so many times during his healing. "Did we really just save the world?" Danny asked. "You saved more than one world," Varath said gently. "You saved mine, not just my life, but my spirit. You showed me that I could be more than a weapon. What will happen now?" Danny wondered. "Now we build," Varath said. "We learn. Young Draken will come here, angry and confused, trained to see compassion as weakness, and we will show them what you showed me. What if they don't learn? Danny asked. Some won't, Vareth admitted. Change is slow, especially for a species that has been one way for 3,000 years. But some will, and those few will teach others, who will teach more, until eventually we remember what we were always meant to be. What's that? Danny asked. Builders, Vareth said. Explorers, protectors instead of conquerors, friends instead of feared enemies. Below them, Kate was talking with Sareth and several human officials, planning the exchange program in orbit. The Draken fleet was broadcasting the day's events to their Empire images of war commanders drinking tea, of an ancient elder weeping over a child's sympathy, of a treehouse that became a bridge between worlds. Not everyone would accept the change. Many Draken would resist, would cling to the old ways, but the seed had been planted in a child's treehouse, watered with compassion and nurtured by hope, and slowly, across 2 worlds and eventually more, that seed would grow 1 year later. Danny sat in his reinforced and expanded treehouse, still recognizable as the summer project he had built, but now strengthened to hold diplomatic meetings. A new group of young Draken warriors had just arrived, their scales flashing aggressive colors. Their eyes hard with training, Danny walked up to one who stood apart from the others, looking lost and angry and scared. Hi, Danny said, offering his hand. I'm Danny. Want to see my treehouse? The young Draken stared at the small human, at the offered hand, at this impossible gesture of friendship, and slowly, hesitantly, like Vareth had done a year ago, he reached out and accepted.